Okay, so I've got one light mounted on the bike here, and you may question, how do you adjust this? Well, you've got these two screws on the clamp that will adjust this way, but they're also going, because of the angle of this rod, they also go up and down on this plane. So you've got that angle of adjustment. You can turn this bracket slightly, pivoting this way, and then finally you've got this. So I guess if you liken it to the three different axes of an airplane, this would be your angle, and here you've got pitch, and here you've got some yaw that you can adjust. So between here, here, and here, you have the three axes you need to get this thing lined up straight and do some adjustments. So I've got this side on. The insert is in there and it's holding. It's very stiff. I mean, I'm shaking the whole bike around on that right now. One thing I'll note, these lights come with this bracket. They don't have a lock washer here, and I don't think it's a good idea not to have a lock washer on something that isn't holding that much torque and yet needs to hold that light firm. So I added a couple of lock washers to the kit here. And we're just going to get these electrical connections soldered together. These are crimp fittings, and I could use a crimp, but I'd rather solder it just to make sure that I've got a really good, strong electrical connection, and that I'm not stressing my stator. I guess the soldering is always better than a crimp connection. So I'm heating it up with this small soldering iron. Get the part hot first. This little, what do they call it? Helping hands or something like that. It's just a couple of alligator clips on a little base. It helps things hold steady, and eventually we can just get some solder in there. Get the part hot. My hands are too shaky for this. There, we got quite a bit of solder into it. Takes a while to heat it up enough. Yeah, that's on there good. So here we are. We've got the lights mounted. We've got soldered spade connectors on. Got one on that side, one on this side, and just to see it from the front. I don't know, they're difficult to see without them lit, but they do shine from each side and look equidistant from the center. So we'll get this wired up now. So I've gone ahead and taken the gas tank off, the side covers on both sides, and just pretty much opened the bike up. Of course, the seat is off too. And I'm able to get underneath where I need to be to thread in this wiring harness. And so I've got the relay and the fuse are going to need to be back here with the battery. And then this main line has got to run up, down through the frame, and I've got two sides. This one should be plenty long to make this side. In fact, I'm going to probably be trying to stow away some wire here by curling it up on itself, and so I've got a whole bag of plastic zip ties here and a cutter to cut them off when I'm done, and I'm just going to liberally use these zip ties to get things tucked away neatly. I don't want things touching hot engine components, although the wiring harness on this bike does. But I'll probably run up similar to this wire here, which is for my auxiliary 12-volt cigarette lighter jack. I'll run these wires down, then get the relay set somewhere back here by these other fuses and this other relay, and then I just need to get the switch wired up. I'm going to put it up by the speedometer up in front of the handlebars, and we'll do that. So that's the next steps. I've stuck the wire that's going to head up to the front for the lights down along this side of the airbox on the frame, and I want to reach it from over here from behind the radiator. So again, it's always nice to have a set of long pliers around. I can see that wire, and I'm pretty much reaching all the way across the entire bike. There, I've got a hold of it. So there, I've got this side coming out the right. I've got these off to the left. Plenty of slack on this wiring harness to, again, I'll have to tuck some of this away and use my zip ties. But I can get the lights hooked up on the front. So for these, now that I've got the spades connected, I'm just going to tuck this away in here where it's nice and accessible, and then I'll use the zip ties to just tie this wire up nice and neat along the crash bar. To seal this all up, I'm going to use electrical tape, specifically 3M brand. It's really good electrical tape, good water resistance, and I just, there's a lot of tapes out there, but the 3M is good stuff. So I'm going to tape off one, separating it from the others. Just pinch that up nice and tight. Again, try to make it watertight. I like to put just a small piece around each exposed wire. And then after I've done that and gotten that sealed up so that each of these are sealed, then I go ahead and wrap the whole thing. Nicely sealed. Now we'll just zip tie that together. Okay, so we've got the power of the high power circuit, which is the lights, all hooked up, and I just went directly to the battery on that. So that's one end of the fuse link is going to the positive on the battery. I've just got the charger on here. It's a trickle charger, so don't worry about that thing. And then here, I can pull this off. That's my test light. And then the negative for the relay
is going to right to the battery. So you want that just directly to the battery, and that way you're going to have your best ground, and you got a fuse there to protect against a short circuit. But then you've got the low power side of the circuit, which is this thin black wire, which will go to negative, and then the positive, which this low power sends power to the switch and back to the relay. And the positive you want switched. If I just hooked up the positive and negative for the low power side of the circuit to the battery, then I could easily turn the bike off, walk away from it, and if I leave those lights on and neglect to shut them off, come back and have a dead battery. And I don't want that. So I wanted to have a switched positive or a switched hot lead. And on the Suzuki V-Strom 1000, there is a plug right back behind the radiator. I'll show you where this is. Okay, so back behind the radiator, inside here, they provide a plug. You really can't see it, but it's back in there. The purpose of that plug is to hook up the factory heated grips. And I'm not going to use heated grips, but that plug, that hot lead there, is switched to the ignition switch. So now when I forgot to hook that negative up. I'll hook that up first and then show you this. Okay, again, so now I've got the low power circuit hooked up with the negative going straight to ground on the negative terminal of the battery. So I've hooked that up now. That is there. And then the other one is the high power side of that circuit. This one is for my cigarette lighter power accessory plug. So that was something else entirely. And the other side is going to behind the radiator to that heated grip power source. And so now I have no power to the low power side of low power circuit, but when I power on the switch, that powers up. And then when I hit the switch, let's see if I can get the switch and a light in there at the same time. You see it come on. So they are working and wired up. And if I were to leave the lights on and turn the ignition switch off as I walk away from the bike, you see that the lights go off. So, and everything is off this way. So that's the way I want to wire it up. An alternative would be to have two paths for the low power side. One being through that switch and another being tied into the high beam switch here, so that when I flip on high beams, these definitely come on irregardless of the position of this switch. And or I can do this simpler method, which I've done, and I'm going to have to manually choose to turn on those driving lights or not, and that's fine. I can see quite easily whether they're on or off, and I've just decided to do it this way. But know that it's an option to run yet another circuit to that whatever the wire is on your particular bike for high beams, and that will trigger the relay just as well, and have your driving lights come automatically with your high beams. I will probably run low beams and the driving lights in traffic here in LA, because this is, for me, it's about visibility and not so much about riding at night. But if I ride at night, they're there and I can use them. So just one final look at the wiring as it's all buttoned up here. Took what was left in the wiring harness and just bundled it all up. There's plenty of space underneath this tank mounting bracket for the relay, the fuse link, and the fuse is down in there. I can pull those out and service them if I have to. There's the relay, there's the fuse, so I've got room to work, but I've got the wires tucked away where they're not going to be contacting anything. And then connected to my battery, and tank is back on. Again, all tucked away on this side neatly, and neat on this side. That maybe I'll run some wire up there just to protect those. I mean, they're insulated, but then all of this is covered up by body work and seat. So it'll be a clean install.